and we got into the discussion. There's a lot of confusion around it, right? Especially if you've been through trauma. So we're going to talk about that tonight, but I want to give you guys a minute to get here. I am live here on TikTok. I'm also live on Facebook. Um, Something is going on with my, I don't know what is going on with my streaming platform. It's really bizarre because it keeps popping stuff up that should not be there and duplicating my profiles, which is very, very odd. So wherever you're watching me from, say hello. If you are on TikTok, say hello. This is the second time I'm on live today. And I may have to restart my stream on the Facebook and YouTube. This is really weird. I'm on both my YouTube channels right now and on my Facebook business page, but it is not broadcasting on my personal page. So I'm trying to figure that out. Anyhow, I'm just going to ignore it. We're just going to let it run. You're on live at 6. Oh, well, thanks for joining over on the YouTube. It's good to see you, my friend. Hey, Miss Ashley. How are you? Hey, Brenda, over on YouTube. Look at all you YouTube people and you TikTok's starting to populate. So let me ask you guys a question since you're here. Do you know the difference between transactional love and real love in terms of what it looks like in action? Because if you were raised by parents that, let's just say, were not really self-aware, maybe they were a bit abusive, and I mean, I'm a Gen Xer. My parents did not really understand love. They understood transactional love, the kind that the government loves us to be walking in, the kind that we were raised to sort of, live, and they modeled for us: produce. You give me this, I'll give you that. Most people know transactional love. Most people love very transactionally, and it leaves us all feeling a bit ripped off and empty and unseen. So tell me in the comments, do you know the difference? And this is by no means like a judgment on anyone's life or their parents or any of those things. Real love is unconditional, giving without expecting something in return. Transactional is giving, expecting something back. It can be. Yes, it can be. It's performance based. Transactional love is very, very, very performance based. And I'm reading a comment that's on YouTube right now. And Brenda's in my Charm Life program. We actually talked about this not that long ago, but I want to break it down. I really want to break it down for people because I don't think it's talked about enough. And when it comes to self-love, right? Especially, what does self-love truly look like? Like I'm sure you guys have heard the saying, you can't love another until you love you. Do you guys believe that to be true? Yes or no? Put in the comments. Do you think you can love somebody else if you truly don't love yourself? And what does loving yourself look like? What does that mean? So many questions. And see, the thing about me, like, I'm a master life coach. I like to ask questions to make y'all think. I don't want to necessarily tell you what to think. I like to educate, right? And I like to give you insights, and I like to provoke thinking. You have heard that. Do you believe it? Yes or no, Miss Ashley? That you can't love another unless you love yourself. Because when we look at the number of dysfunctional relationships on this planet, it's so evident that people don't really understand what real love in action looks like, right? So, Miss Brenda, you're over on YouTube, and your comment was amazing. What does it look like specifically? I want to teach you guys. I want to see what you know. And I also think that we learn from each other. So I think it's good when we can have these conversations, right? And really start to think about it. Because transactional love is the kind of love that keeps score. And I'm sure all of you know that, right? I'm sure some of you are guilty of that. I know when I was younger in relationships with partners, I did keep score. A lot of people keep score. And then your relationship, because that's what you learned, right? And then relationships begin to fall apart because then we hold grudges. Yes or no? Just wondering. Like, talk to me, people. This is for you guys. Like, again, this is the second time I'm coming on live. Earlier, it was just to show up and sort of do some coaching, and I'm happy to coach you guys. Like, my schedule's been uber light today, and I was testing out going live during the day to see the difference, and actually had a bigger crowd, weirdly enough, during the day, in the middle of the day versus the evening time. And we have different people that come on in the evening versus during the day. So here I am. But I'm sure you, like, how many of you, raise your hand, put yes in the comments, or me or something, if you're someone that has been in a relationship or even in your family, and it's like, I'll meet your needs if you meet mine, but only if you're in and out during the day. It was wonky at work. It's been a wonky day, sister. It has been a wonky day, for sure. Kitty Fondue saying yes. When I do something from someone, like babysitting, and then in the future expect them to do the same. Yes, that is transactional. If someone does something for me, I feel like I have to return it. That's transactional too, y'all. And this is on YouTube, so I'm reading you guys the comments. I feel like I have to return something or do something for them in the future. Obligation. Yes. How many of you guys that you've either done that, you've experienced that? And it doesn't have to be in like romantic partnership. I'm talking just love. It can be with your friends. It can be with your family. It can be with, pretty much anything. Anna, oh my God, it's so good to see you, friend. What's up? I don't even think I shared this one out. Isn't that funny? I forgot to do that because I was setting my Facebook and YouTube one up, and Facebook's just all kind of messed up. My streaming software's messed up with my mother, but it was due for me, and I might do for you later. Right. So a lot of adults are running around without a clear understanding of what real love actually looks like in action. I find that very sad. I actually had to learn these things because my mother was a narcissist, right? She's a narcissist, hardcore abusive narcissist. So it's very difficult to know what does real love look like? Like, what is that? And you ask people, and everyone has their own sort of opinion about what love is and what love looks like. It tends to be due for me 10 times before I do for you. Yeah. So for me, and I'll tell you guys, like, for me, anytime someone would do something for me coming out of my childhood, because my mother had so many strings. I mean, you get a gift for your birthday. Holy cow. The payment for that gift is going to be so not worth it. So I didn't trust when people did things for me. And I gave, and then always felt empty, neglected, unloved, because, I always chose to give to people who didn't give back. And that was the mirror of the issues that I needed to heal. We talked about that earlier on my live stream this afternoon. When you are afraid to not give something, to not show up, to not be there for somebody because it sounds familiar. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, it is because you're afraid. Like, if you love in the action of love, in the place of love, you should not be afraid of A, being used, and B, of having the reciprocal love withheld because you didn't do it right, or you didn't do it the way that the other person is wanting or expecting. right? To love deeply and completely, we actually have to stop seeing connection as an exchange point. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying about that? We have to see it from the not the place of what do I get. It starts with you, and it's who do I choose to be, and who do I choose to give this to? Love is a gift. It's a choice, and it's a gift. And within relationships, I see the biggest downfall of relationships and conflict and partnerships show up because partners start to keep score. And look, I was guilty of this too in my past relationships. I'm not in a relationship right now, but I'm just saying, when I was young, I kept score. And man, every single fight, tell me if this has happened to y'all. Every time you have an argument, you don't only fight about the thing that you're upset about in that moment. Everything unresolved comes up, and it's like you've been holding a scorecard subconsciously. And the minute your wound gets hit, you unleash that list on your partner. Thank you, Go Live Vegas. You guys are welcome to send gifts. Tap that screen, leave comments, share the stream if you know someone who needs to hear this education, needs to hear this conversation. You're not required to give me gifts, but gifts are always appreciated. It's how you guys support your hosts who spend their time on here and help you. I need gifts. Okay. I'll take them. I will take them. Anywho, all right. So there is a fear for those who have been in relationships or have had abusive childhoods. There's a fear of if I give too much, even, then I become a doormat, right? And those are things that come about because of boundary issues and because you've got wounds that have not been healed. In the world of transactional love, which I swear most of the planet is operating in a place of transactional love. You know, I do for you, you do for me, to where we just distrust when someone actually shows up that's kind. And it's a really big, unfortunate thing. Like, I hear it even with parents and their kids, and we don't mean to do it to our children, but I've heard conversations, and I'm sure I did it as a young, frustrated mother, right? Clean your room. Think about all the things I do for you and all the things I pay for you to do. And then we try to use those things we do for our children to get them to listen to us. How many of you are guilty of it or willing to admit that you're guilty of that? Because we do that with our kids. My issue is doing for others and not for myself. That's a boundary issue too. And that's a priority issue. And it really is that thing of learning how to love yourself. True love includes discernment. And we do have to be aware of who we're giving our time and energy to, right? And love to. But if you're going to give someone something, time, support, love, compliments, attention, give to them without expectation of anything in return. And when you give like that, that is truly unconditional love in action. The transactional stuff, literally, like, we were taught, we were just never, we were never taught what real love is. We were taught, if I perform, I'll be loved. If I behave, I'll be loved, right? I have in the past, working hard not to be that parent. Yeah. And that's great. That's how my mom talked to me. I probably never talk like that to my baby. Girl, no shame. There's no shame in the things that we repeat that our parents did to us. We learn things, and then it comes popping out of our mouth, and we're like, oh my God, I sound just like my mother, right? Like, no matter how hard we try, that's what happens. And we honestly, that's part of the healing. I feel like transactional love is an oxymoron, unfortunately, but that is how most people love. That is why people leave relationships just feeling so disrupted and unhappy and broken and unworthy. Why didn't they love me? Why didn't they give me things? I mean, look, y'all, since social media, think about this. And everybody's relationships are on display at times like Valentine's Day and Christmas. And, you know, even from the standpoint of engagement rings and proposals, there's so much money that goes into it. And that's how we gauge things. How much money you spent on a ring is going to determine how much you actually love me. Like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I honestly feel my best when I can help someone. So do I. But that's coming from like, if you are doing it intentionally, it's coming from your heart. It's the best feeling in the world. It is the best feeling in the world. What's not the best feeling is when you do it and you don't realize that the people you're giving to then just don't care, right? Because then we end up feeling empty. There's that discernment piece I was just talking about. We have to be discerning. Who do we give to and why? There are times when you're just going to give because you are called to give. But within your relationships, that is where it becomes very transactional. And that's that transactional aspect is not healthy. And literally, your nervous system equated love with approval and not being loved with withdrawal of love. And that's the part most people are never aware of, right? Almost every adult relationship that a couple that I've worked with, it literally has come about where it becomes this negotiation. And then people are like, well, how do I love without losing myself? As a Filipina, it's conditional love taught by parents and caregivers. Absolutely. Very, very much so in the Asian communities. Perform, perform, perform. Our parents, our grandparents, they didn't know any better. But outside of our cultures, it's kind of the norm, right? It's not that common for people to Slav too. Yeah, it's not that common for people to stop and really, young people. Let me ask you guys this. Think about this. Where do children learn how to love, what love is in terms of their friendships, their relationship? Where do they learn that? What about giving it without expectation, loving a person for their presence in your life? That's real love, my friend. That's real love. That's not transactional. But most of what we see out in the world, which is why so many people feel so lonely and so hurt, is because it's transactional. Yeah, we learn from watching parents, siblings, friends. We learn at school too. We get praise and attention from our teachers when we do well. Right? What happens when you don't do well, either at home or at school as a child? What happens when you fail that test, when you lose that race, when you come in second? And in the Asian community, second is as bad as losing. No joke. It's harsh, man. The Asian kids have like not set up for feeling good about ourselves. Constantly trying to prove yourself, and it continues. Real love actually does start with presence, not performance. Unfortunately, how many of us learned that it was about performance? What can you do for them? Right? But you can't give, and this is why I was saying, Ashley, like, you can't love another until you love yourself, because you can't give to another what you haven't cultivated within yourself. I notice things are in waves, good and bad. I just really try to make the most of things. That's awesome, custom game room. That's awesome. Very good. All right. I want to say this too. Like, When both partners in a relationship or both people in a relationship, this can be a friendship too, right? When the both of them are self-aware, which is becoming a little more common, still pretty rare, love becomes true and deep and safe. Transactional love does not feel safe. For those of you who have been in survival mode, for those of you who've been through trauma, for those of you whose parents were not the best role models or examples of what real love is, right? And you were caught up in all kinds of madness, or you came from the Asian culture and it was all about perform, 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 and be perfect and all the things, be a good girl, be seen, not heard, all those things. You've got to learn these things as you become older. Like, it becomes a point of, how do I grow? And it's like one of the first steps of growth, one of the very first steps of awakening and growth and transformation and healing is about understanding the difference. And it isn't to then feel even worse about your childhood. Oh my God, they didn't love me. They didn't know how. They didn't know how. They taught us to perform, to keep us safe, projected from their own traumas. Absolutely, they did. And I mean, there's a lot of places and a lot of cases where the outward status, especially through the 50s, 60s, 70s, the boomers were really big on status. They won't admit it. And yet it was all about, what kind of job do you have? What neighborhood do you live in? What kind of car do you drive? And it continued. It continued. And now everything's on social media. Like, I really have some concerns with the kids that are coming up, because I mean, except for the parents that are actually doing the work on themselves now to break the dysfunctional cycle, right? I worry about them because everything's on display, everything's being rated, everything's being judged, and people on the internet are cruel. People leave some really nasty personal comment attacks without even a second thought. They don't understand even the impact of their actions there. But those are the ones that don't love themselves either. And it shows through in their comments. All this hate that we see cycling through the world right now, when I see the ones that are spewing it, I know how much they don't love themselves. You can't spew that kind of hate and love yourself. When you love yourself, you don't spew that kind of hate. We live in a Black Mirror episode, I swear. It feels like it sometimes, doesn't it? So how do you love? First, return home to yourself. And what that means is love and accept every part of you, good, bad, whatever you think is flawed, whatever you think is not, you love all of you. Love the positive thoughts, love the negative thoughts, love the trials, love the challenges, love when you look at your worst and feel at your worst, and love when you look and feel at your best. Love yourself. Accept yourself. Self-acceptance is one of the biggest challenges I think people have, because we're always like, oh, but I need to grow. It's good to want to grow. But first you have to accept where you are right now and not loathe yourself for where you are. Have goals, have dreams, push to achieve those things and make them a reality. I am all for it, and I am a doer. If ever there was, like, I'm a doer. But you've got to accept and love all of who you are in this moment to really come home to yourself. The hardest part is to love, accept, and overcome shame. Shame is the lowest vibration on this planet. I don't know if you guys knew that, but truly, shame is the lowest vibration. Like, from a frequency perspective, it is the lowest. Shame and guilt. Those are the two lowest vibrations on the planet. Ain't got no time for that. Anytime you find yourself in a place of shame or guilt, you need to get yourself out of it as fast as you can. You can be angry at yourself or whatever you think you messed up. Move past it. Don't ever stand in shame or in guilt, because it will hold you down and choke the life out of you. No joke. Still healing from perfectionism and performance. My goal is to be whole. So let me put this out to you, user. You are already whole. You're just coming back to the remembrance and the knowing and sifting through all the garbage that says that you're not already whole. You are already whole. We were born whole. So let's go over it. All right. Love in action. Love listens without trying to fix. How many of you are good at that? Listening without rushing in to offer a solution or to do something for someone. Just listening to hold space, to be a witness, not to control, not to shift the person out of what they're feeling, just to hold space. That's number one. Love in action. It's listening without trying to fix, change, offer a solution, rush someone through something, tell them to feel better, just holding space. And you guys can write these down so that you remember. Number two, love tells truth and honesty with kindness. It doesn't hide behind niceness or spiritual bypassing. Love is honesty. Love is truth, right? When we don't speak truth because we're afraid of hurting somebody's feelings, then we're still in transactional love because we're actually trying to gain approval and hold on to that approval. And most people never even think about that, unfortunately, right? And I'm not talking weaponized honesty, because that's not love either. And I know narcissists that'll be like, I'm just telling you the truth because I love you. How many of you heard that from an abusive person, a narcissist? They weaponize truth like nobody's business. I'm doing it because I love you. No, that's not why you're doing it. That's like farthest from the truth. Honesty without compassion is cruel. Says more about them than me. Absolutely. Yeah. 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 But be aware. I mean, if you do have someone in your life who's like, I'm telling you the truth because I love you, and it's cruel and it's laced with innuendos and it's laced with reverse compliments, that ain't love either. They're trying to manipulate you. Number three is boundaries. Love honors boundaries. But listen to what I say. Your own boundaries. So self-love, honor your own boundaries and other people's. And that's the one that gets most people that are super kind and caring and compassionate. Thank you, Miss Anna. Right? We will honor other people's boundaries, but we do not honor our own. We make excuses for people stepping on our boundary. We keep moving the boundary line until before you know it, we ain't got nothing left. So self-love, honor your own boundaries. Honor them. Treat them with respect. Right? Love takes responsibility. Love in action, real love, not transactional love, real love takes responsibility and does not blame. Right? It's not a pointing fingers and keeping score kind of thing. If I do something wrong, I'm going to admit that I've done it wrong, right? And I'm going to seek forgiveness by apologizing. Anna, thanks for the donuts. I appreciate you so much. You guys get what I'm saying? Like, there's so many times in our relationships where, because of what we learned as children, because of the environments we grew up in, arguments and expressing hurt feelings becomes this like he said, she said, you did this, no, you did that. We enter into this really weird, unhealthy power struggle, which always means there has to be a winner and there has to be a loser. That's not love either. It should be win-win. Win. 3 wins. You win, I win, we win. Not you admit that you're wrong and then I rub it in your face and make you feel bad because I'm afraid you're going to do it again. Like, that's not love either. That's manipulation and control as well, right? Love gives freely without keeping score because it's a choice, and we're not keeping score on how much we gave either and how much they didn't give. Like, but it's a funny thing in the world that we live in right now. The other thing I think most people don't understand about love in action is love is curious. When we're in that state of love, which is one of the highest energies in the universe, when we're in that state of love, we do not assume that we know everything about the other person. We meet them fresh every day with curiosity. We listen for how they feel, who they're choosing to be, which shifts and changes. How many of you are working on yourselves, growing, evolving, improving, healing, and you want your partner to recognize you're not who you were a year ago, 10 years ago, 15 years? Like, how many of you? I had a fight with hubby choosing a color to paint the living room. How do we all win? That's just a communication thing, right? Like, that literally should not be a fight. And honestly, I tell my girls this all the time, like, don't sweat the small stuff. And most things are small stuff. Everyone has a personal preference when it comes to things like painting the living room and choosing colors. Sometimes we negotiate and we compromise. It's what we do. We mix, we match, and then we finally agree on things. He wants a dark color, I want light. So where's the middle? One dark accent wall and light on the other sides, right? There's that's an option, or a light accent wall and dark on the other. Like, literally, there's negotiation. Everybody gets to have what they want. We're just doing it differently. Would that work? And that's the thing that I would ask is like, how would that work? Would that work for you? Let's compromise with one another so we both get what we want. Negotiation and compromise within a relationship isn't necessarily a transaction. No. Like, if you were to give in because you still want him to love you, and that would be transactional. But negotiation and compromise within a relationship, because you both live in the house and you want to keep the peace in the marriage and you want everybody to win, then marriage is a series of compromises. Relationships are a series of compromises. And the more that we can both get what we want and be happy, the better. Sometimes we're not always going to get what we want. Sometimes it's not possible, Or you say, well, you can have your light walls down the hallway if I can have the living room. Like, there's always a solution. And then we don't have to fight about it, right? Truly, then we don't have to fight about it. My night is good. How is your night, Harmony? All right, next one. Real love always regulates itself. When you feel triggered, right, you tend to your emotions in your body before you react. That's love. That doesn't mean you're never going to get triggered, y'all. What it means is you're going to regulate yourself before bringing that to another person, especially the people that you love. that are important to you. You breathe, you ground, you respond from presence, not from defense and protection. Real love requires your nervous system in safety mode, not in defense mode, not in survival mode, and not in perfection mode. Because when we're in that mode of protection and perfection, we do tend to then try to control the people in our environment. We do tend to try and manipulate how they feel, how they behave, what they're doing, what they're not doing. And it becomes a mess, and it doesn't feel good for you or them, right? Real love forgives. Something a lot of people don't seem to get. And forgiveness isn't about pretending that what the harm and the hurt didn't happen. Forgiveness is freeing yourself from carrying it, and also giving the other person, they don't have to carry it either. Again, not keeping score. Too many times we say, I've forgiven you, but then it goes down on that invisible scorecard to be brought back out in a future fight, right? That's not forgiveness. If you're using it on a little scorecard against the person that you say you love, that's not forgiveness, right? You got to remember the lesson for sure, both parties involved, but you don't have to continue to carry the wound. And too many times I see that rip people apart. But that's true for self-love too. Forgive yourself for the things you've done. You don't have to keep holding it against yourself, because that's where shame comes from. That's where emotional baggage comes from. Then we end up carrying this stuff, and it becomes so heavy. And we don't want to feel the shame and guilt of that. So, then we try to be perfect, and then we're no longer authentic. We don't allow ourselves to mess up. Everybody messes up. Be willing to take responsibility, because that's love in action. All right? Love doesn't need to win either. Love, when you're standing in a place of love, real love, you seek understanding, not victory. You seek to continue the connection, knowing that the connection's more powerful than being right. So many times we want to be right because we're afraid if we're wrong. And this is part of the programming of perfectionism and transactional love that we were all brought up with. We're afraid that if we're not right, we will be abandoned, we will be punished, we will be dismissed. Yep. Thank you, Alley Cat. Both parties have to seek connection. Otherwise, it's not sustainable. Absolutely. Absolutely. And look, how many people in here are ladies and how many are guys? There's a reason I'm asking. And this is not to excuse men. I'm going to say something, and it's not to excuse men. In fact, I would hope that it inspires men. Lady, Filipina. Cool. Anna's a lady. I know that. All right, look, y'all, ladies, you all know, from an emotional intelligence perspective, from a spiritual awareness, awakening perspective, you are farther along in your journey and have more emotional intelligence just naturally. Y'all know that, right? Emotionally, you mature before boys. You learn more about emotions. You express your emotions. Most of you, hopefully, you're not hiding your emotions. You're more emotionally intelligent and mature than men. And if you're in relationships with men or even someone who's been traumatized, you've got to understand sometimes a lot of times, you're going to be more emotionally mature, aware than your partner. Now, this is not a one up, one down deal. Again, love doesn't keep score. But you've got to be at least honest with yourself to know and understand the fact a lot of men are behind the eight ball when it comes to emotional intelligence and emotional maturity, spiritual awareness, and intuition. They just aren't. They were taught man up and all that stuff. And I'm not giving guys an out because men need to step it up. More and more women are choosing to be single, remain single because of the fact that they can't find partners that are emotionally intelligent and not living in this weird objectification mindset that women are property. I did not happen to read the recent, I don't read Vogue, so no. What's that about? You've got my curiosity going. So yeah, like literally be patient, because patience is part of love, right? Sometimes I think we have to remember, especially when feelings are flaring, your own and your partner's, most of the time when reactions start to happen and disagreements start to happen, it's because both of you have reverted to whatever inner child wounding age that got hit. And for a lot of people, that's like 7, 8, 9 years old, sometimes 5 years old. That fear of abandonment kicks in, that fear of rejection kicks in, and you were just mentally, emotionally the same as you were when you were a little kid. Whenever, like, from a place of trauma, whatever age your biggest traumas happened, that is when you stop like you become emotionally stunted. And you've got to work your way from there forward and bring your inner child up to safety and teach them emotional regulation, emotional intelligence from that age on. You feel like women instigate conversations when it comes to emotional mental. We do. We do because it's important to us. There are more men that are actually starting to wake up to the need for that. There are a lot of sensitive men out there. And they're, unfortunately, it isn't until after they've lost someone that they really love and care about, or their children, that they finally realize, holy crap, I need to grow, in the personal growth industry. And I'm a certified high performance coach. I can tell you on that level, like, they touch on emotional intelligence, but it's more goal oriented, goal driven, because it's very driven towards leadership and corporate, entrepreneurial, money, right? Very transactional. High performance is very transactional. It's entitled as having a boyfriend embarrassing now. That's awesome. And sad all at the same time. You're talking about a woman. I've been married and divorced. I raised my 2 girls the majority of the time by myself as a single mom. I ran a business. I had a farm. I had horses, goats, chickens, gardens. I dated, but yeah, by myself. And then my dad moved in with me and I took care of him too. Did all that stuff. I dated. I stopped dating. It's been a number of years because it's like so distracting. And what was I getting out of it? There's nothing. I wasn't getting anything out of it. So I understand that attitude of is it, if a man can't, like, how do I put this to you guys without, I don't want to sound superior. I really don't. And I talked to my friend Andy about this a lot. He's like, women are so much more emotionally aware, and we are. There are sensitive people like him that are more emotionally sensitive. But even him, he's growing into it, and he's in his 60s. I wish there would be more males being in the community centering emotional wellness. Here's the thing to watch out for, though, and again, not trying to sound negative, but I've seen it in the spiritual communities and metaphysical communities en masse. A lot of narcissists enter those communities and pretend to be emotionally intelligent and aware, and they actually are narcissists and they're predators. And they're in the spiritual communities, right? But there are some men who are learning, who are in therapy. I mean, funny enough, I have more male clients right now that are private clients than I do women. I have more women in my group programs, but when it comes to private clients, I have more men. And we are working on the emotional stuff, and we are healing their traumas, and we are making them more aware and more loving and caring and intentional. There are men out there, I can tell you right now, unfortunately, a lot of them wait until something big happens. People have to lose things before they'll address what's going on. That's just the facts sometimes. But for those of you who are in marriages, you are in partnerships, or you just have friends and you're like, I want to know how to love better, more clearly, myself and other people. Know that love doesn't include winning and losing. Literally, it does not. Love should always be win, win, win. Loss should not be a part of that equation. And love, we have to choose it again and again and again every day for ourselves and for other people. It is not something like when people go numb, and they just think about, no, I love myself. Not if you're numb. Men can effectively dismantle the patriarchy they created, but they won't, I fear. Women can too. Men have unfortunately developed a reputation for being a liability. It's so funny you say that, Alley Cat. I'll share something with you guys personal. I do astrology too, but my Venus is in Capricorn. So the way I love, it is very cut and dried. Since my 20s, I have literally looked at relationships from the standpoint of, is it an asset or is it a liability? Right? And the minute I see that a relationship has become a liability, it's gonna cost me more on all levels. And if it's gonna cost any part of me, I'm out. Right? It needs to be an asset. Hard to find those. Yeah, Capricorn energy does not play. It's very, very business-like that way. Like, are you a liability or are you an asset? Be an asset. Like the way I choose to show up, I think I'm always an asset. Like I'm the person everybody calls when they need something. When, hey, Bernadette, I got to go out of town last minute. Can you come over and feed my cat kind of person? And you know that I'm going to, like, you can go where you need to go without worrying about whether or not I'm going to follow through, right? If I say yes, you know that I'm going to do it. How many people do we know in our lives that are not like that? They're not reliable. And part of being a loving being is being reliable too. Be good for your word. Because without that, who are you? What's your value? Right? If I say yes to something, I've already thought it through. Right? And I'm going to see it through. But if I say no to something, it's because it's crossing a boundary or because I don't feel like it. And there's a lot of people that I help that need to learn how to say no. No. And not have that be something that creates fear within them that they're going to lose people. Totally believe in that, be an asset. Yep. Right? Like, thank you for the love you smiley guy. So yeah, I hope that more people can start to just make the distinction between whether the love that they're giving or the love that they're getting is real or is it transactional. What am I getting myself into? Right? Because when you're in a transactional relationship, you inevitably end up feeling very empty when things like life happen, like if you get sick. I literally had this guy when I was in my 20s, really not a very nice guy. And I liked pretty boys. That was my downfall. Loved the pretty boys, and the pretty boys loved me. We were sitting one day on my boat. I had a big 38-foot yacht that I lived on and I owned. We were sitting on my boat one day, and I looked at him and I said, "What would you do?" And I'll tell you the history behind this in a second. He said, "What would you do if I was in an accident and half my body burned? Would you stay with me? Would you be there?" And this was early on in our relationship. I was like, just hypothetical. Would you stay with me? And he said, no. No, really? Interesting. Within 15 minutes, I kicked him off my boat. And I was done with this stupid butt. I was like, that's insane. He goes, no. Do you know why I'm with you? And this is when he finally started to get real with me. Do you know why I'm with you? And I'm like, why? Tell me why you're with me. You're cute. You make good money. You have this big boat. He had a little sailboat, and I had a big fishing boat. And he's like, so you just wouldn't be you anymore. I'm like, excuse me? What do you mean I wouldn't be me anymore? You just wouldn't be you anymore to me. Oh, I see. So here's what happened and where this question came from, right? I don't typically ask questions like that of people, but he was married and his wife was pregnant and she gained a bunch of weight. And what he didn't know at the time as she was gaining weight and he was putting her down is that she had an illness. After she gave birth to the baby, she died. But while she was in the hospital for that month, he frickin' handed her divorce papers and said to her, you're not what I want anymore. And when I heard that, I was like, holy hell. This dude does not know how to love, not even a little. Not even a little. He was a big, huge, arrogant, egotistical Italian dude, super good looking, but that's all he was. And it's funny how quickly looks turn ugly when you realize who the person is you're dealing with. Right? For real. I think more girls should be asking their future husbands questions like that. Like that was a no-brainer at that point. It took 15 minutes and I was like, you need to leave and then lose my phone number and don't ever come back. Like, it is horrible to do that to a person. Yeah. Her parents ended up raising the son. His son was really cool too. I loved his little boy. His son was such a sweet, respectful kid, but he lived with his grandparents. Thank God, because this individual was, he was just not a good person. Not even, I had bought this horse. This was years and years ago. I'll share this story with you guys just because it's an interesting deal. So I bought this horse. I had this Arabian named Bo. And I bought it from some people that hired me to train him and try to break some of his nastiness out of him. He would try to run people into fences and dump them. That was Bo's thing. Like, he was a super smart Grand Prix level dressage horse and jumper. And just this little guy, but boy, that horse could jump like nobody's business. But he was a problem horse. And I was the problem horse trainer. They brought him to me. And he had such a great personality, although he had massive attitude. I loved Bo. He had massive attitude. He would try to dump me. And I finally broke him out of that, he and I. and got him calmed down. And I was like, you know what, you guys want to, because they wanted to sell him. I go, you want to sell him to me? And so they said, yeah, we'll sell him to you. So I ended up buying Bo. At the time, they had a 14-year-old daughter. The husband was a border patrol guy, used to be in the army or something, or Air Force, one of the two. And he was in Germany and married a German woman. So the woman I bought the horse from, who used to ride from a very famous rider in Del Mar, California, she's the one that had this horse. And her and I became friends. So I stayed in touch with the family. The guy that I was dating that I just told you the story about was a hairdresser, very good hairdresser. The daughter asked me who did my hair, and so I gave her a referral to him. I found out about 6 months later that he's dating the 14-year-old. Now I go to talk to the mom, and I'm like, do you know what kind of person this guy is? First of all, why is the 36-year-old guy dating your 14-year-old? Why? Like, why? Well, we're different in Germany. We don't have issues with that. And I'm like, do you know his history? And do you know what he's like? And I tried to tell her the story I told you guys of what I said to him and what his response to me was. And you know what she said? We like him. It must be something with you. Now, I cut off all ties with them, so I don't know what happened between him and the 14-year-old. I know they dated for at least 6 months. I don't know what happened after that, but like blew my flippin' mind. This is the kind of individual that guy was. I was just like, man, she did put it back on me. Yeah. Must be something about you. Okay. I don't know what you're letting like a dude that's in his 30s who has a kid who is close to not that many years younger than your freaking daughter. Like, hello. Just unbelievable. The kind of stuff. This is the kind of stuff I watched throughout my life. And I have not let it harden me, right? I've not let it harden me. We have to identify the people in our lives that are like that, though, right? You've been in circles like that. They tend to stick together. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't even know how I got off on that tangent. Oh, I know what it was. It's from that place that literally, like, boundaries are boundaries, people. Like, ask good questions if you're going to get involved in relationships. I don't care if it's friends. I don't care if it's a partner. But if you're in a partnership and you're still having struggles regulating your nervous system, do your work. Don't expect the other person to. Hope that they do. Pray that they do. Journal about them doing it. But you need to heal you and stay that way. And then love from a pure place. That's how we heal ourselves, and that's how we're going to heal this world. This world has become so damn dysfunctional. And this world has become so damn transactional, even more so. Like the things that we're seeing being played out in the world and in politics, even, it is the mirror and reflection of sickness that we've allowed to go unchecked on this planet. We've allowed this whole transactional society to be the thing. It's just not healthy, you know? And then everybody's kowtowing to the funk and the illegality of the things being done because they're benefiting somehow from it, right? We've all asked the question, like, how long do we have to put up with this mess? Until either a bigger percentage of us keep speaking out and protest and say, oh, hell no, or until the people that are in positions within Congress and Senate push back and stop kowtowing because of their own fear of disapproval and repercussions from this administration. That very much is transactional. I watch it all day, every day. Corporations have locked that one in too. Locked it in. We give you money, you do what we want. Tell me that that's not happening in the world. Because it is. Right? And unfortunately, we've normalized it even within our relationships. We've normalized it within our relationship to ourselves. And we got to grow past it now. We've got to wake up. We've got to shift and change and grow. But I hope that helped. If you guys have your own questions, you have things you have questions about, just ask. The lesson I've learned from the Nuremberg trials is because we were following orders is not a deference if you want to win. Yeah, no. Something's coming. It is. I know it seems like it's just dragging on. The wheels of justice move very, very slow, and that's always been the excuse. But here's the thing. We've watched what happened in Nepal. We've watched what happened in South Korea. We watched what happened years ago in Tiananmen Square. We watched the people take it back. And now we've got to do it. And we have to hold their feet to the fire. Because of love of our country, love of ourselves, love of each other. There's too much hatred going on in the world. It's part of the reason I think Spirit was like, go talk about the difference between transactional love and real love. Because a lot of people we weren't taught it. I feel like I was born for this. What part, Angelica? To shift it, to change it? I think all of us chose to be here right now. Right? All of us. History is cyclical. The one cycle we have not returned to is the matriarchal society cycle. And it's due time. I mean, the feminine is rising. You guys know that, right? Like divine feminine is having her day. She's rising. It's conversations like these. It's really becoming self-aware. It's really embracing what real love is, nurturing and learning how to embody the feminine without feeling like we're somehow victims. Like time for victimhood for women, that day is over. Like, let's go. Right? Let's go, girls. Exactly. And not from a place of violence. It doesn't have to be violent, but we got to get loud. We got to help each other. We've got to help heal each other. We've got to hold each other up. We've got to learn how to hold space for one another. And then we got to shout from the rooftops, not today. Pluto's in Aquarius, just a matter of time. Yes. And that finally, I mean, for years now, people kept saying, oh, we're in the age of Aquarius. I'm like, no, we're not. Not until Pluto goes into Aquarius. Then we enter into the age of Aquarius. And now we are in the age of Aquarius, but we're at the beginning stages. And just like how we get through trauma, do you guys know how we heal trauma? Do you know the stages of that? There's 3 main stages of healing anything that's broken. Anything. And to transform anything. There's 3 phases. The first phase is deconstruction. And that is the phase we're in right now. Right? We're in the deconstruction phase. Things are falling apart. It is the ugliest, hardest thing to watch when you're in the deconstruction phase. It's the hardest thing to ride through. And it's true even when you're going through your own awakening, you enter into the dark night of the soul. The dark night of the soul is truly the deconstruction phase from who you were to who you're becoming. Nobody likes that stage. Nobody. It's not fun. It's like you go into the great unknown. But once you come out of the deconstruction phase, then you enter the bridge phase. And in the bridge phase, that is where we begin to make that transition from what we broke down and burnt down and whatnot, and build something new. And we cross the bridge to who and what we're building, like who we're becoming. And once that bridge is built, that second phase, then we hit the integration phase. And then it solidifies, then becomes a part of our embodiment. That's a ways off. If you look at those 3 phases of transformation, that is true of any kind of shift and change. We're in the deconstruction phase. The bridge phase, we have the ways away. It's a ways away. We need to be the bridge and remember who we are. That's all part of the deconstruction phase, though. Truly, that's part of the deconstruction phase. That's not part of the bridge phase yet. The bridge phase is building towards something new, and we haven't even figured that one out yet as a society. Remember who we are and worship the divine feminine again. Yes, the divine feminine is wisdom. Most people don't realize that. Like, the energy of divine feminine is divine wisdom, which has been missing from this planet for eons. Yes, Sophia. Like, for eons, divine wisdom out the window. She's been hiding. She went into hiding. She had to. She was under attack. She's coming back. She's making her comeback. Not hiding anymore. You know, when I look at throughout the years, and I've been at this for 25 years helping people, and in the self-help space, in the personal development space, those who have risen to the top have been, the majority have been men. And when not men, it's been women. And not even women of any kind of color or culture, different culture. Like, it's been a push against the patriarchy, against what's been. And I'm not complaining. I mean, it's just something I've noticed. Finally, the voices of women that come from different cultures, different mythologies, they're starting to rise up, right? I don't know if people that are Christian even realize that Christianity is falling apart at the seams, and the current climate here in the US is driving people out of the church because they're being so hypocritical and cruel. They're losing people and it needs to happen. Like, from there, people seek wisdom. They seek the feminine. Maybe they don't know that that's what they're seeking, but that is what they're seeking. That is what they're looking for. And to me, it's exciting, right? We've watched the control grid try to lock down harder and harder, and they're desperate. But they're losing their grip. So ladies, don't get discouraged. Find that strength within you. One thing that I always teach everybody I work with in my groups is about holding your sword of truth, holding your sword of spirit. That's a double-edged sword, right? But we each have a sword in spirit that is so powerful. And that sword will cut through all of the mess, all of the BS, all of the woundings. It will also heal. One side of it is truth. The other side of it is wisdom and strength. We need both sides. We've got to heal ourselves. And that's doing shadow work. It's a must. I know I was the first woman in my family to break the cycle of abuse. And I had 2 daughters. To break the cycle where girls were, if you came from an Asian family, y'all, and maybe some of the other cultures too, like, girls were not honored. Boys were the golden children. Girls were overlooked. We were treated like shit. Like, no joke. But boys can do no wrong. The light of truth like a flashlight. Yes, right? Like, so women and girls have been taught to just Operate in the background. Be quiet. Doesn't matter if you're hurt. Suck it up. Not anymore. I think our woundings are our strength if we allow it to be. If we allow it to fire us up in a good way. If we allow it to create that burning desire for others to not have the pain that we had to endure. If we want better for future generations. And I do, you know, that kind of reminds me of my mom sometimes. In what way? I'm curious. All the comments are coming over from TikTok. I got no comments over on YouTube. I'm going to end my stream on YouTube because it's hitting the long mark. So those of you on YouTube, thanks for joining. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys later. If you want to jump over to TikTok, you can. I'm going to keep going.